The Northern Ireland Social Care Council is a regulator for the social work and social care workforce in Northern Ireland. We do this by holding a register of all social workers and social care workers by setting guidelines for them to follow in their daily work. These guidelines are called Standards of Conduct and Practice and must be met by everyone who is on our register, no matter where they work or what job they do. The standards play an important part in helping to make sure that service users and carers receive high-quality social care. In the following short video clips, we will hear from some of our registrants, employers and service users about what the standards mean to them in their day-to-day lives.
I'm Michael Winnington. I work for the assessment unit at the Probation Board headquarters in Belfast. I've been here for the past 5 years. I've previously worked in the assessment unit. I've been in probation 30 years plus. The key challenges in terms of my role, it's the preparation of reports for a variety of courts. So it's about assessing offenders, it's assessing risk, and also working with those people at the pre-court stage in terms of helping them to identify what are the factors in their lives that are getting them into trouble, causing them to offend, and helping them to look at ways in which they can address those issues. So it's about assessing motivation, it's about trying to empower them, to give them a sense of what they need to do to address those risk factors in their life, but also putting it into a wider context in terms of possible harm they have caused other people, harm they've caused the community, potential risk they might continue to pose. I believe it is important that all social workers registered with NISCC work to a common set of standards, regardless of where that setting is and the different complexities that brings. It's about being held accountable for your own work, but also knowing that colleagues are following the same standards and are treating the clients, customers, the people they work with to a common set of standards that don't deviate from what's the expected norm of our profession. That means, for me, the important standards are about integrity, professionalism for one. That's about adhering to the procedures, to the documentation, to the various training that you've had in terms of risk assessment, whether that's risk, assessing an offender's risk of harm, whether that's about assessing a child in need, a family's need. It's about approaching that work in a consistent, uniform way in terms of clarity, in terms of objectivity, not being put off by the fact that a decision that is made for the right reasons, even if that decision is going to be challenged and criticised in court or in another forum, it's about having the confidence to maintain that professionalism and integrity, knowing that that decision has been based on proper adherence to standards, to documentation, to all the various training that you've been given. I also believe, in terms of uniform standards and application of standards, it's the importance of human dignity and a person's capacity to change is key in that, regardless of whether that's a residential setting, whether that's a children's home, whether that's working with offenders in an institution or working in my setting. It's about how you engage with people, how you would like to be treated if the positions were reversed. It's when some people decide they're not going to follow the standards that the difficulties occur, and that's when the thing we all want to avoid, which is cases going wrong, the publicity that results from that, and very often it's to do with the failure to follow standards, the failure to communicate, to work with other agencies who are following, in many cases, the same standards as ourselves. So the standards should underpin everything you do, but also be looked at in terms of using those, whether it's in supervision with your line manager, whether it's in team meetings, to revisit those, to perhaps take one or two out and look at that in terms of, right, how are we adhering to that? How do you feel your work is adhering to that? And I can immediately point to, again, it's professionalism and integrity, the capacity of people to change. It's about human dignity. It's also being aware of the victim element, certainly in my work, but the work that all social workers are doing. It's trying to reduce the harm that results from people's lives, results from the decisions they make. So it's supporting them so they become either better people, better parents. If it's offenders, that they're addressing the lifestyle and behaviour issues so that they are at least reducing the risk that they pose, and therefore it's resulting in a safer community.
I really enjoy my job a lot. The service users make a difference to my day as much as I make a difference to theirs, because I'm getting up in the morning and I'm coming in and I am helping people to do things that they're not able to do themselves. And I have a pleasure. My service users, every single one of them, are thankful and grateful, and I just truly enjoy being able to make a difference in someone else's life, and especially when they can't do it for themselves. So it's just good to know that I'm helping someone. My job as a support worker has two different elements. The first element would be care, and the second would be support. So I come in the morning, I get my service users washed and dressed, I give them their breakfast, I give the service users their medication. Some people take their own medication, other people rely on us for their medication. So that's the care side of it. The support side of it, I promote as much independence as I can. I show the service users exactly what they can do with their own independence and try and get them out and about to do their shopping, to do their washing, to help them clean their house, to do their everyday things. I make sure that I give them as much choice as I can as possible, and the main thing is to promote their independence. I've been in this job 3 years now, and I wanted to learn something different. I wanted to do something a little bit different, and something that I have done recently is I've become a NISCC ambassador, and that involves me going out to schools and promoting health and social care and telling children and employees, employers, exactly what health and social care is about and what you're expected to do in the job. I learn something new every single day in care. There's never 2 days that are the same. In Leonard, Cheshire, we are encouraged a lot to follow the NISCC standards. This is basically our guideline of our job and how we work and what the service users expect, what way they should be looked after. And in supervisions and in training, we are always encouraged to follow NISCC and use their standards, and we really can't go wrong after that. The NISCC standards fit very well within our organisation with our policies and procedures. For example, we promote dignity, we want compassion with our service users, we want them to be treated with respect, and we want it to be about them. We want them to feel like they're being looked after properly, and that if they have any problems that they can come to us and we can fix it for them. I think it's important that all social care workers in Northern Ireland follow the same guidelines so that we're all on the same page and we're all able to deliver the standard of care that is needed for service users, and also it reassures the service users that they're going to get a good standard of quality care.
As a social worker, I really welcome the standards of conduct from NISCC. I think for me it sets a framework of expectations as to how I should undertake my work within my employing organisation. Also, as an Assistant Director of Social Work within the South Eastern Health and Social Care Trust, it helps me be clear about what framework I must put in place within our organisation to ensure that social work and social care are appropriately led, managed, and governance assurance arrangements are in place throughout the organisation. My post is responsible for the social care governance arrangements for social work within our trust. Together as a team, Brendan, Rosalind and I lead the social work workforce, and I have responsibility for quality assuring the workforce and the work that we undertake. I must ensure that the work is of a high standard and undertaken ensuring that dignity, care and respect of service users are central. As an employer, we really welcome the NISCC standards. They form the foundation of what we do in terms of leading the social care and social work workforce. We do this by ensuring the NISCC standards are central to the work of our Professional Social Work Forum, which is led by the Director, Brendan, and supported by social work leads across all of the directorates. At that forum, we consider how best we ensure that supervision, appraisal, support and continuous professional development are made available to all of our staff. We develop our policies and procedures at that forum and integrate the NISCC standards within all of those policies and procedures, so we know that in fieldwork, in residential care, in domiciliary care settings, all the requirements and standards are met. On an annual basis, we would also undertake an audit against the NISCC standards to ensure that we are meeting their requirements within the organisation. I think the benefit of doing this is that having this framework provides an excellent foundation to support and guide our staff. One of the important areas we need to consider is the safety and quality of the service. One of the challenges for social workers and social care workers now is the pressure to deliver lots of hours of work with service users in very complex settings. The NISCC standards help them understand what is expected of them as a profession.
Hello, I'm Anne Mallon and I'm a carer for my daughter Kellyanne. Kellyanne will be 37 in a few weeks' time, and when Kellyanne was born, just after she was born, when she was 11 weeks, she took a brain virus called viral encephalitis, and it's left her very severely brain damaged. She has a lot of needs. She needs all her personal care done for her. She also has a physical disability and a sensory impairment. I mean, she has very, very poor vision, and she's been at the Mater Hospital several times, and there's nothing much they can really do with it. I have a carer coming in that the trust have awarded me the money to pay this carer, and she comes in and helps me out. I have 2 other children, 2 older boys. They're now married and gone, so there's just myself and my daughter who live here at home. Kellyanne also uses respite. She goes to Woodlawn House in Dungannon, which is a trust facility built about 8 or 9 years ago. And she would get on average about 40 nights a year. They could be like a week at a time, or it could be like a weekend or whatever. But I really appreciate the respite. I don't think I could manage without the respite. It gives me a chance to catch up with things, and for to go and do, even for to go for a holiday or even for a long weekend somewhere, and I can get my batteries recharged, and then it leaves me fitter then for to cope whenever I come back. So about 18 months ago, I joined NISCC, and I'm a member of their participation partnership. And as a result of being in that group then, I was there to help to develop the standards for social care workers. And I felt that it was important to have a carer and user input into that, because Kelly is so vulnerable, and it gives me a bit of reassurance to know that when she goes to daycare and when she goes to respite, that all those workers are registered with NISCC as either social workers, or the nurses are registered with their own body and things like that. And that gives me and other carers the reassurance to know that there's a minimum set of standards that all those workers have to work towards. And I suppose the same applies in domiciliary care and all those. And I would like to think that those standards would be standard throughout the whole of Northern Ireland and the whole of the UK. And it certainly gives me as a carer a lot of reassurance to know that. Some of the standards that are particularly important to me as a carer, well, one is confidentiality. I live in a very rural area, and the neighbours would all know you, and I would like to think that anything that goes on in my home and outside it, unless I expressly allow it to be told, that would be kept confidential. And the carer I have at the minute would be very aware of that. And I suppose another thing would be that Kelly would be afforded the respect and dignity that she deserves because of how vulnerable she is. I would like to think that any carers coming into my home would treat her with the dignity and respect that I would treat her with, and that I would like to see every disabled person treated with. But she's a very happy child, and she doesn't, she's quite, she has no challenging behaviour. She's not aggressive in any way, and she's just the love of my life.